Do you know that, Shawn, every employee that I've added, I have never added an employee that did not get maximized and did not produce multiples.
Once I got what I thought I needed, it really wasn't what I wanted.
When I come look at your job, it's my house while I'm here. It's my concrete while I'm here. I'm only gonna sell you what I think I would do at my house.
Wow.
So he had
That's
3
great.
jobs.
Yeah.
I had 3 jobs. We worked 5 years. And do you know what our gross sales was at the end of 5 years of hard work?
This is better than teaching children. I mean, potty training children. You let go to grow. You have to let go to grow.
Yes.
Hey guys, I have with me an amazing guest that you're gonna really enjoy. And it happens to be a good friend of mine that we've known each other for years. So we've been engaged in a lot of different projects, but you're gonna love this because she's what I call a boss lady. And she is a driven business owner, entrepreneur, and she always thinks outside the box. So you're gonna listen up because you're gonna have a lot of nuggets and some interesting stories. And they're not always successful. Sometimes there's some not so successful stories in there that happen to be what led to where she is today. So my friend here, Lisa O'Hearn. Lisa, our audience is primarily business owners, entrepreneurs, real estate agents. So you're the perfect fit. And I'm excited to have you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, when Shawn asked me to do this, I was like, oh, it's just going to be on the radio or whatever. That's how untechy I am. And I was like, whew, surprise. No, we're meeting in person and we're going to actually go live. So, okay.
Yep. You can't wear your pajamas.
No. But I think where I'm at in my life, so we started in business when I was 23. I was flat right out of college. I had gotten married. My husband said, I think I'm going to quit my job. He had poured precast panels for a living, so he had a good concrete experience background. And I said, well, don't quit your day job till you have something else. My brother-in-law came to me and said, I think this would be a really good fit for your husband, doing this resurfacing. It was something that was not out there in the market at all, really. There was this little company in California. He saw an ad for their product, said, Kevin could do this, let's go see it. We ended up in California, him doing some 2-week training, came back a believer, started the business in a little town in the Quad Cities, which is where we grew up. And we did that for 5 years. Well, to start the business, it took money. Yeah. And we were flat broke. I was out of college. He had just, worked hourly for a company. And so I went and contacted my family members, my uncle and my aunt that I knew had money.
It's where it usually comes from first. Hit all the family up.
Yep. And they said yes. My uncle gave me $7,500 and my aunt gave me $2,500. But
that's pretty good for a start.
It was $10,000, and that was 43 years ago. So that was a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
But I told them I will pay you back, set them up on a repayment plan at 8% interest, and told them I'd have them paid off in 3 years or less, and proceeded to go with that plan. But in the process, we needed to be able to buy groceries, and that wasn't going to last for groceries. So I took a job as a health club manager for the 5 years that we lived in the Quad Cities. And I also was a waitress when I turned 16. And so I had worked my way up into white tablecloth and linen, fancy restaurants that made pretty good money on Friday and Saturday night. So I waited on tables. I ran the health club. And I also sold Sundeck.
So are you saying you had 3 jobs?
3 jobs.
Okay.
And, let me add one more thing. I also had a 1-year-old baby at the time.
Oh, gosh.
So it was a busy life for sure. But my husband was really good. We tag teamed everything. And he did all the installation part. I just did the sailing and the bookkeeping part of the business. And it was small, so it wasn't, it was 2 jobs a week or something. There wasn't a lot of time that it took me to do that in the beginning. So I could manage all those things. But quickly we realized that he needed to do something in the off season. So because we're seasonal business, so 6-7 months we have work, but then you don't have work for the other times.
And what state were you in at this point?
We were in Illinois.
Oh, okay.
The Quad Cities,
okay. So
Illinois.
you had some winters.
We did.
Where it shuts everything down.
Yes, and so that I'd never recommend a seasonal business. FYI for you entrepreneurs that want to think you're going to get into a seasonal business, it is very difficult. Any business that's run by the weather is extremely difficult.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not been a good business, because it's more of a niche business. So we didn't have the competition like a HVAC company or a plumbing company would have. But we also had half the year that we didn't produce very much
for
income.
Sure. That's tough.
It's tough.
Because now you just amortize your whole income across 12 months, even though it only came in for 6 or 7.
Correct. And so he realized I need to do something during that off season. So we had a friend that had a truck company, and he said, you could drive for me for the winter. So he took a 32-hour truck route where he was literally driving for 32 hours straight.
Is this like over-the-road semi-trucks?
Over the road, yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. So he must have had a license to do that from previous life.
Okay, so it wasn't like a semi, but it was a big enough truck, whatever's below a semi.
Yeah.
But he had full truckloads of cargo, and he'd have a 32-hour route where he left and did all his drop-offs to all these places, and he'd end up back home after 32 hours.
Yeah, wow.
And then during the summer when we were doing Sundeck, we had a good friend that was the pro at the Rock Island Arsenal golf course, and he knew that I had babysat for his kids. And so he loved our family, and they had given us a washing machine that didn't work. And we didn't have any money to buy a washing machine, so my husband said, I'll take that washing machine and fix it. And so he fixed it, and then that made him an automatic success as a repair guy. And so when he needed a repair guy for his golf carts, he said, I'll ask Kevin. So he sent him to golf club repair school, and he came back.
I didn't know there was such a thing.
Yeah, there was Club Car. They had their own in-house training program. And he came back, and so he would work till 3 in the afternoon, and then he would go to the golf course, and he would repair all the carts that had gone down for the day.
Wow.
So he had 3 jobs.
Yeah.
I had 3 jobs. We worked 5 years. And do you know what our gross sales was at the end of 5 years of hard work?
What was it?
$60,000. Now, mind you, out of the $60,000, we had to pay for materials.
Yeah.
We had to pay for the helper that he had, and we had, utilities or advertising budget, all of that stuff.
This was the 5-year mark.
This was the 5-year mark. And you have to understand too, our job sizes back then were we'd get calls for 200 square foot front porch.
Yeah.
Little stuff. And you can't make enough money on the little stuff.
Yeah.
We didn't know all that. And it was our training time. We needed that time to learn all those pitfalls on the little stuff before we made those mistakes on the big stuff.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because a lot of people nowadays have the Amazon effect, everything, I need it now, success now, the things I order now, everything's now, and they don't realize that people like you who are sitting here telling your story and have now a history of success that you can look back on.
Yes.
There were like 5 years of hunger where, you paid a big price.
Huge.
And most people aren't willing to go or give that time to it, a year down the road. They're like, oh, this isn't working. And they jump ship.
Correct.
And I always tell everybody there's this line, and you've experienced it, where I was the same way, to where you're like on this plane, and then at some point you start coming up into a vertical.
Yes.
And right about the 15-year mark is where most people quit.
Yes.
They jump ship and they go start a new business, or they quit, get a new job. Right before they miss that vertical.
Yes.
So, and then when that vertical happens, now you've got the longevity.
Yes.
That's where all the sweet spot comes, and it's like, wow, this is working, and the money starts coming in.
Where you can hire more people, you can offload some of your tasks.
Yeah.
You can breathe.
Yeah, but it takes the time to invest up front of the pain of wearing all the hats.
My brother-in-law said a really interesting thing, and it stuck with me all those years of perseverance, and that was there's 2 ways to start a business. One, you either have to have a lot of money to start with, where you can start with your team in place, and you can oversee the team. Yeah. But you have to have a lot of money to start that way. Or you start like you and I started, at the ground level, where you don't have a lot of money. And you build slowly, and you reinvest those profits to have that next piece of equipment that's going to save your crew X amount of time, that's going to give you X amount of return. And you have to be willing to do the time if you can't start with all that money up front.
And the majority can't.
Correct.
Because it's not only the lack of money, oftentimes it's the lack of knowledge, because you learn it along the way.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're 5 years in. Take us from there. When did you find that transition to where you're no longer working, 5, 6 jobs between the two of you?
So what was interesting at the 5-year mark, every year we would have our home office come and visit us and do an inspection. How are you doing? Show us some of your work. Are you keeping the brand safe? All of that. And I was like, yeah. And they'd meet with us and they'd go, my gosh, you guys are such hard workers. You need to consider moving. And every year we would go and we would go to the Sundeck convention and we would hear what all these new dealers were doing for sales volume, and we'd sit there going, what are we doing wrong? And it was so frustrating. And they'd say, you need to move. You need to get to a better market. And so it's funny too, because, they say, everybody says, you need to go to college. And then, the new thought is, really, you don't necessarily need to go to college. You can learn a lot of things other ways, right? And so what's funny is that here I am graduating with a marketing concentration.
Okay.
What's the first thing you learn about deciding if you're going to start a business? Is there a market for what you're trying to sell?
Yeah.
Imagine this. We started our business in the Quad Cities where the median income at that time was $30,000.
Oh, ouch.
We're offering a luxury product in a blue collar market.
Yeah.
It was the wrong demographics. It wasn't our hard work that wasn't there. It was that we missed a very important thing, which was, are your demographics right for what you want to do?
That's super important because that happens all the time.
Sure.
People have a great product and, especially entrepreneurs who are just stepping in and they don't realize they just don't have the right views. The views are from the wrong people. They're chasing the wrong avatar. And it happens all the time. An old saying that stuck with me years ago, which you can take a pastor from the country, stick him in the suburbs, and he can preach until he's blue in the face and he won't impact any of the people. But you stick him in the right area that are his people in the country, and man, it grows and it resonates, and it's just the wrong person in the wrong place.
Right,
when you
on
get,
the bus, they'll
on
say.
the bus, yeah.
Who do you have on your bus?
Yeah, and when you get that right, things change. So you obviously are in St. Louis now.
We are.
So
finally, it took us 5 years. I didn't want to leave my family. Family is really important to me. And I had my sister, her kids that were growing up. We raised each other's kids. Every morning we'd wake up and say, you'd probably wonder, how did Lisa manage that scheduling? I'd wake up in the morning and I'd call my sister and say, what's on your day today? And she'd say, I got to get this, this, and this done. I'd say, I got to get this, this, and this done. I'd drop my 2 kids off for the first 5 hours of the day. She'd turn around and I'd pick my 2 kids up and add 4 more to my bushel, and I'd have 6 for the whole afternoon so she could get her work done.
That's
so
great.
We team, raised both of our sets of kids at the time, so it was really hard for me to think about leaving that.
Yeah, for sure.
And my kids were young, so I needed that support. Going to a new city, didn't know a soul there. And so we came, we did a quick little site visit. It was a God thing though. Honestly, God really led us there. He gave us the time to really decide whether we wanted this and this was what we wanted to do for work or not. He gave us the time to learn the little lessons we needed to learn to be able to take it to a bigger stage. And it was such an awesome confirmation in that, and there was perseverance in that quest to go there. We had a pool builder that we contacted that when we met with him the first time, when we came to appraise the St. Louis market, and he said, Lisa, if you will come, I will sell Sundeck on every pool that I install. And I install 100 a year.
Wow, nice.
And I thought, wow, to have someone feeding us, I said to my husband, that's going to give us grocery money, man. We're going to breathe.
Right.
We're actually going to be able to do one job, each of us. We may wear many hats in that job, but we're actually going to be able to concentrate our efforts on making this successful. And so we said, okay, we're coming. Kevin and I did our first 4 jobs in '88 because we said, you need to be able to have places that somebody can visit because everybody thinks this won't last through the winter, the freeze thaw. So we need to get those places in place for the first.
So you mean the product?
The product.
Because the product was new to St. Louis.
The product was new. It was a rollout of resurfacing materials, period.
Okay.
Like people didn't think things could stick on top of concrete and last.
So are you chasing like deteriorated concrete or just concrete that wasn't pretty, just like the old gray concrete, and
Both.
trying to make it pretty?
Both.
Or repair? So both.
Both.
Okay.
But there was a point where we would be very straight up with our customers and say, this slab is not in good enough shape to resurface. You're going to have these problems reoccur so quickly that if it was my house, because I always told all my customers, when I come look at your job, it's my house while I'm here. It's my concrete while I'm here. I'm only going to sell you what I think I would do at my house. And because of that, it built a lot of trust.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And that's the way we run our company. That's the way I've taught all my salespeople. I never want you to sell something. Do not chase the dollars.
Yeah.
You chase the dollars, and that customer will see through to that, and we're not going to do that kind of work as our company. So.
That's funny. That's a great point, because I think most people, they're hungry in the beginning, so they do chase the dollars, and they miss the service and the relationship and the trust that gets built and credibility that comes from it.
Yes.
And referrals, and there's a lot. That's a big package right there when you're focused on the dollars and cents. It's hard though, because if you're hungry
you need to
and you need to pay the bills, and you know the spouse maybe is like, this isn't working, we're starving here, when do we jump ship?
Right.
So that's important though that you mentioned that, because that really is the foundation that gives you the rocket ship later on. It just isn't a quick payoff.
It's not quick. And when we made the decision to move, I was the one that came and I knew we needed more money. Because we were going to move. We had a house that wasn't selling, that wouldn't sell fast because the market was so bad for housing at that time. So I went to 3 banks, and petitioned them to lend me. All I wanted was a $25,000 credit line. And do you know what they told me? First Bank, Boatman's, Old Bank.
Oh man, I haven't heard that name in a long time.
We're not interested. You're too small.
Yeah.
If you were coming in for $250,000, we would lend it to you, but we're not interested in that $25,000 credit line. I'm like, okay. Went to the second bank. Does your mom have any equity? Does she have any stocks or anything?
Let's get the family locked up in this too.
I looked at the banker and I said, yeah, my mom does have stocks, as a matter of fact. Yep, I could ask her. Yep, she would say yes. Guess what? I'm not going to, not because of any other reason that I've spent 5 years building what I've built so far. I've paid all my loans off. I owe everything free and clear. My van's, free and clear, everything. And I'm a hard worker, harder than you probably will bump into, on a regular basis. And so I'm not going to do that. So he said, okay, well, we're not going to make the loan. And then we moved to the next banker. Same story. Finally, it was, again, the pool builder. We really have to give a lot of that credit to finding, or God aligning us with the right person to help catapult the business. And his uncle was a banker his whole life.
Oh, wow.
And he goes, here, try this bank. They're new and up and coming. They want clients.
They're hungry.
They want businesses.
Yeah.
And so I went and met with him, and he was like, you know what? I'm going to make this loan to you. And I'm like, you are?
Love it.
Why? I said, I got to know why. He says, because I believe in you.
That's what it's all about right there.
And do you know what? I paid back that initial faith with loyalty. I stayed with that bank for 15 years. Even though that bank took me 30 minutes to drive to, it didn't matter. That guy was there for me when I needed him, and I was going to be there for that bank. And
that's the way it works.
He left, and then I was like, my loyalty now is probably past. I've grown the business big enough, and I want to go through convenience and stuff like that. But
I always tell people in the book that I release, I talk about people propel prosperity. And I always mention this one article I saw, and it was only about a year ago, of someone on the cover of Forbes magazine and saying self-made billionaire. And I'm like, that's such a load of crap. Nobody is self-made. Nobody is self-made. They're just not recognizing the blessings of somebody else who dropped a seed or gave them a hand or something throughout their life.
Absolutely.
I've never heard anybody in person say, oh yeah, I did everything on my own. I had zero help. So that was one of your stepping stones for opportunity. That and the pool guy. So both of them alone.
Absolutely.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So now you have a relationship in St. Louis.
Yes.
You've got a little bit of money to draw from, so you can start building. What happens from there?
So he does what he says he's going to do. He starts to sell sundeck on every pool. So now we have the basis for our overhead to pretty much be covered. And it allows us to spend a little bit of money in advertising and try to build our side of the business. But the one thing that I recognized is it's never good to have all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
We definitely needed to be building our business ourselves. And so we did that. I still ran appointments. I still did some advertising as I could. just, guerrilla advertising at that point because we didn't have a lot of money. We used that credit line very effectively. I never like to pay interest if I don't have to. I'm pretty much pay everything in cash if I can. And if I can't, then I have a reason and a way that I can pay that thing off. I know the value of the asset and how it will produce and why it makes sense to buy it. So at that point, we would always borrow through the winter when we didn't have a lot of income and work coming in, and turn around and we'd have that credit line paid off by usually June. And then we'd accumulate, and that went on. And you are really right. I would say it took us probably 15 years before we started to recognize that I could no longer do it all. I couldn't do all the sales calls. I couldn't do all of the answering all the phones. I couldn't do all of the QuickBooks, or at that point we didn't have QuickBooks, but all the bookkeeping that was needed, collect all the money, do all, And so that's when I started to add help. And I said to myself, my question was this: if this employee that I'm going to take on part-time is going to cost the company $20,000, can I take $20,000 left for Kevin and I in case we can't produce the extra $40,000 it'll take to pay that $20,000 bill? And I said, I can't not do it, because I can't do it all, and we're losing business because I can't be as effective as I need to be.
Now,
and you know what?
Explain that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to stop you, but explain that, because I think that's a really good point that a lot of people miss. You said we have to pay them $20,000, but we'll have to make $40,000.
Correct.
Explain that, because most people miss this.
So, most I figure you work at about a 50% profit margin.
You do.
And so
sometimes less.
Sometimes less. Yeah. So if you are going to cover an expense, you're going to have to make double whatever that expense is to cover it by the time you pay your overhead on it. And so that just was kind of my rule of thumb I always used.
And that's before them actually being profitable, because obviously the best hire is the one who makes a multiple of their income, or what you're paying them, and not just covering the cost. But in the entry stages, you're just like, how do I cover this?
Exactly. I want to make sure I can make my payroll.
Right.
Yeah. And do you know that, Shawn, every employee that I've added, I have never added an employee that did not get maximized and did not produce multiples.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, but I never tried to grow fast.
Yeah.
I always let the application side of my business drive the selling and the infrastructure of my business.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times people have that reversed. They feel like they need to chase the sales. They need the sales. They need the sales. Yes, but if you can't fulfill the sales and you can't support that, then it is not a good plan.
Yeah, my terminology is always slow growth equals deep roots.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, that's my story.
Yes.
It's been a long, boring journey for me, to a certain degree, but it paid off because the roots were deep enough that through those ebbs and flows of business that I'm sure you've had seasons as well, outside of just a normal annual season, where you see some shifts and you're like, what the heck are we going to do now?
Right.
You still show up the next year, the year after, you don't go under because you've allowed them roots to deepen.
Correct. So I'm going to break this conversation to tell a funny about, Shawn here.
Oh, uh-oh.
You
Wait, did we talk about this?
No, we didn't. Okay. And by the way, I asked Shawn can you give me an idea of these questions you're going to answer me? Prep me a little bit. And you know what? He's like, no, you're going to do fine. I'm like, okay, Shawn, I'm going to figure a way to get you back.
Yeah, okay. Is this it? Bring it on.
Here it is.
I'm ready.
You're turning a little pink.
Am I?
Yeah, a little bit.
I just got a lot of sun the last couple weeks.
Okay, sure. So at any given time, Shawn, in my business life, I have jokingly said, but there was some serious thought behind it. My company is for sale for $1 today. I just need to find somebody that'll give me $1. I just want to leave. I just want to get out of here.
Oh, man.
And so, having said that, there was a time where Shawn and I met through a business entrepreneurial group, which is a really good forum, that I learned some things, and they held my hand a couple times when I needed it for sure, right?
Yeah.
Gave me some really good ideas and that. But I remember there was a time where Shawn came to that group and he said, I'm thinking about selling my business. I just want to get out. Do you remember that?
I do. I've had that thought many times, by the way.
Okay, but do you remember what I did? What I pulled you aside later and said?
I believe so.
Yeah.
But why don't you remind me first?
Okay. I said, Shawn, I think you need to just suck it up and realize that we all as entrepreneurials go through this stage.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, as an entrepreneur, you don't realize all the benefits that you take out of the business that you don't put a dollar on, but there's some huge dollars that go onto those benefits, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And then besides that, I said, what happens if your kids want to get into the business and you're able to transfer that generational wealth to your family?
Yeah.
And then I was really pleased to see, well, it wasn't what I said, but
I'm still here, Lisa.
you are, and you stuck with it. Way to go.
Yeah, so, I'm always still thinking about that, though. But it's like, it's funny, is it's less about, it's different now. And I appreciate that conversation because you know me, I'm pretty candid.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I love that about you.
Yeah.
I love that about you. That's why we get along so well.
You're right.
Is, we can just talk freely and not have tension or frustration with each other because we know it comes from a place of realness and heart and investment in the other person. So I love that. There was a season, and it was funny because I had called that friend of ours, that mutual friend.
Right.
I don't want to name any names.
Yeah.
And he was a super inspirational guy to me. He just kept stopping in our business every once in a while. And I had his number on my board next to me for like a year and a half in the grind where I just felt lost, kind of like drowning, so to speak.
Right.
And felt like I was just, in the water like this. Somebody please grab my hand and just pull me out of this mess.
Right.
I hated it. I hated it for a season.
Right.
Maybe a few seasons.
Right.
And so I finally one day made that call. And he says, hey, why don't you come to this board of trust that we have, this group of entrepreneurs, and just join us. And Lisa, this is pretty funny because I'm like, okay. And I felt some sense of hope, I guess.
Yeah.
And so he gives me the time and everything. And I'm so looking forward to it because I'm just, any kind of glimmer of something new is what I was looking for. So it's 8:00 is when everybody was meeting. Well, I show up to the address and I'm thinking, this is really weird. There's not one car here. I'm the only person here. So I park for a little bit and I kind of knock on the door, timidly.
Plus, it's a house.
And it's a house.
It's not even a business.
It's not even a business. It's just an old house where he's kept for his business for decades.
Yes.
And so I'm knocking and I'm thinking, I don't think anybody's here either. And so then I call, no answer. And so I leave a message. I'm like, hey, we'll call him John. Hey, John, I'm here. I'm super excited to be here, but I don't see anybody here. Am I at the right place? Here's the address. And I didn't, no response. I just left a voicemail. And finally, I leave. Well, the next morning, I get a call from John, and he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. He's like, it's not PM, it was AM.
Oh my God.
So at 8 p.m., I'm there knocking on the door thinking, this is a weird time to, meet a group and hang out. So I totally botched it. But all that to say
but
that
you made it.
I made it. That one phone call when we did catch up, I met some amazing people like you.
Yes.
And we've had friendship since and been through a lot and gone through some projects and collaborated.
Yeah.
Since there's some things you had going on, some things I had going on. So it was great. But that's where we met, and that's where I was at that phase. So I get it. So thank you for speaking into me.
And that's for other entrepreneurs. That's the best thing you can probably do is get yourself, if you're not in a group, and there are groups that actually charge money for that.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of money.
For sure.
Yeah. And I actually was in that group for a minute, or another group like that for a minute. But entrepreneurs that are listening to this, the best thing you can do is get yourself 2 or 3 or 4 other entrepreneurs that you can bang some ideas back and forth with and help you to get through some of those situations.
Yeah.
Or call Shawn, he can help you through them.
Those
gray hairs aren't for nothing.
No kidding. They're coming quicker than need be. But so, yeah, it's interesting because I do some coaching and stuff now, and this is my favorite thing is to help people grow and find true fulfillment through the journey because and you tell me if you feel this way as well, but I always say, look, once I got what I thought I needed, it really wasn't what I wanted. Make sense? So all the money and the things that we chase and boats and nice cars and all this fun stuff that we've been able to enjoy it never filled the void that I thought it was going to fill. So it was still there. And that's when I'm like, oh my gosh, I've given decades of my life to this and I missed the mark. While I have, struggling relationships around me with, kids, spouse, all that kind of stuff. How's that for you? Was it just this perfect journey or
No.
did you experience some of the challenges?
Oh, absolutely. I think I don't recommend working with your wife or your husband.
Right.
And the reason partly is, I can say I don't recommend it, but I can also say that my late husband, he's passed away, I felt like we were equally yoked.
That's
And
great.
that's a great biblical concept, but it also is in business as well. It's hard to work with somebody that you feel like you're outworking them and carrying the lion's share of the
Yes.
load.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel that way with him. But I will say the problem was we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of business things. So, and the problem is when our business was so encompassing for that 7 months to try to make 12 months worth of income, we had very little personal life, and most of our personal life always had the business creeping into it.
Yeah.
We're going out to dinner and we're talking about the next 4 jobs that are happening the next
Right.
day while we're having dinner.
You can't escape it.
You can't. Or, Mrs. Jones called, said she, needed to change her color. Don't forget to change that when you go tomorrow, honey.
Right.
Kind of thing. So I think it took a toll on our relationship for sure. And then me being more the business head, and that's kind of in my genealogy, if you will. I have very successful entrepreneurial uncles and aunts, and, I think...
I love that you're passing on and being humble, but it's part of who you are, period. It's how you think. I see that in you. You have a mindset and a drive that's a go-getter, and ambition that comes. It's just part of how you're wired. Not that they didn't influence you, but that is definitely who you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so my husband was more laid back and more non-confrontational and would rather smooth things over, would rather just do whatever it took to make the customer happy instead of holding ground sometime. And, yes, there is a point where you want the customer to be happy, but there are customers that will literally take you into bankruptcy if you let them.
Sure.
And so you have to be able to have that very measured approach and the ability to stand your ground in a very, polite way, but still stand your ground.
Yeah.
And so that, I would say, made it hard to work with my husband and, him to come home with a problem and me to want to address it a certain way, and him to say, well, I'll just do it and give away the business today. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do it that way.
To kind of silence the problem? Is
Correct.
that what it was? Okay.
Yeah. He would rather not address it head on. He would rather just try to make it go under the way, shove it under the rug, make it go away, kind of thing. So, I don't think it's a good idea. If you cannot work with your spouse, I don't recommend it. And then if you look at all, up until about, so I've been doing it for 43 years, up until probably 10 years ago, I was doing almost all the sales calls.
Yeah.
I mean,
I remember that.
I was busy, and I met a lot of people on that journey. And in the process of meeting and dealing with husband-wife combos and watching their interaction and stuff like that, and meeting sometimes those that would work together, I could see that same friction and how that would then go into their personal lives and stuff. And so, if you don't have to, it's probably a better idea not to.
I agree. And I see that frequently. And it also, so there's kind of like 2 layers to it. Either you're working with them, right? And you experience the dynamic you're talking about, or the pressures that being an entrepreneur or business owner you carry, you're bringing them home, and there's a different layer of tension that it brings because you're bringing your junk home, so to speak.
Correct.
And it's hard as a business owner. Like you said, you're out at dinner and you're thinking about work, or you get a text or whatever else. It doesn't stop. There's no off button.
Right.
At least there isn't at the earlier stages when you're wearing a lot of hats. I mean, if you're lucky, way down the road, and if you're doing things right, it gets to that point.
Yes.
So I see it on both sides, and I have conversations with that. We do some husband and wife conversations, and I'm like, oh my gosh, because I see what I remember.
Yes.
So I get it, but it's a hard thing. So let's jump topic a little bit. So you're in St. Louis, business takes off. and you're still about 10 years ago. And we've had several conversations back and forth about selling and whether that's the right thing to do. And some of the conversation was, well, by the time you sell the business, you pay the taxes.
Yes.
Why would you sell it? Just keep it and let it keep pumping money to you, because in 2-3 years, essentially, depending on what the multiple is, you've got that same money.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we kept kind of hashing some of that out as well.
Yes.
And so it's a hard conversation to have, but at some point you started having desires and were ready to start shifting.
Yes.
Now, I love that you're here now.
Yes.
And I know you're not as fast as the older Lisa because you're like going into life shift, do what you want, Lisa.
Yes.
What's that look like?
So about 4 years ago, I said to myself, I feel like I'm starting to not be a good boss. I know that my time is coming. I need to be looking at shifting the reins to someone else. And so I started putting ads out for general managers. And, I did offer it to my daughter first, who works, actually, full disclosure, my daughter works in the company. So there's a whole bunch of conversations about having your children work in your company and how that goes. My son also does all of our advertising, SEO work, online marketing, and he does a great job. But neither one of my children at the time wanted to take that on. And so they said, we've seen how hard you and Dad worked. And my daughter's a great salesperson, design consultant for the company. She makes great money, and she gets to turn it off.
Yeah.
And so she's like, I like that I get to turn it off. So,
do you want it all?
Yeah, thanks, but no thanks.
Right.
And so I searched for 3 years, Shawn, and I was unable to find anyone that would work, in my opinion, for the company, because I didn't want to change it over to, I could just sell it to a private equity group, and I could have made a multiple of 6, 8, 10 sometimes. I mean, big bucks probably. But I didn't want to do that to my staff.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that to my daughter, because I've lost all control. What if they just don't like the color of her hair and she's gone, you know?
Right, yeah.
Or my son, in his business. So I knew that wasn't the right thing. And then, not to mention, most of my staff has been with me a long time. I have one gentleman that just retired after 22 years, and I have another one that's approaching 20, and his kids work for us too. And I mean, there's just a lot of family in our business. And I wanted to protect that family. And so I put an ad, tried again for last year, put an ad out, and was able to get a gentleman that walked through the door that came with family business experience.
Wow.
And then, I bring God up a lot because, I really like him to be the driver of my, actions and my moves and everything. And so, I was pleading. I was on my knees begging for him to bring whoever was supposed to take over the company, that I was just feeling like I wasn't doing a good job. And
you were done.
I was just done.
Yeah.
And so, but I wasn't going to leave until, somebody came. I would never strand anybody. And so when this gentleman walked through the door, it was just so God oriented. Like, he came with 9 months of previous competitor experience of training.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, whoa. And then he came with this whole family lineage experience of owning and working in restaurants. And we have, our installation staff is Hispanic, and I've worked in kitchens with Hispanics my whole life. I get it. I know. Wow. I understand how they work, etc. And so I hired him, and God just whispered in my ear afterwards, now probably in the last month. So he's been with me about 9 months, and he said, you wanted somebody 3 years before, but I told you to wait. And then when you were willing to wait, I brought you somebody even better than you even imagined you'd have.
That's awesome.
And I was like, you're right. So far we're doing good, but I don't feel like I can stop cold turkey, but it's awesome, because he'll say, my goal is for me to give you a monthly report, and you don't hear one other thing that happens in the company. And I said, I'm all excited about that too.
I like that.
For right now, I want you to know I am here whenever you need me, for whatever you need. And I love that he's been willing to call me and say, I need help with this.
Yeah.
Or I had my daughter and my other design consultant on separate occasions, because he had never started a beginning spring season. And he didn't realize how jobs had to be scheduled and stuff like that. And plus he was hiring or training a new production manager. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like a tough...
Baptism by fire,
by fire, right? And so my daughter calls and she's like, Mom, I know you want to stay in Florida longer, but I'm going to highly recommend you consider coming back soon.
Yeah.
They need help. They need some counsel on how to make this work, and you need to be here in person to do it, probably. So
yeah,
I was like, okay.
That's good. There's some things I love about that. First off, you have to come to that point of letting something go. You let go to grow. You have to let go to grow.
Yes.
And it's so hard for founders to do that, or even, whatever business you're in, after you've been saturated with it for decades and poured everything into it. It's really hard. I tell people, I said, there's no light switch. I wish there was, where you could just flip the switch and see you guys.
Yes.
Like you, I have a great team in place. They're amazing. And I work, I maybe communicate 5, maybe 10 hours on a hard week, where I'll kind of just kind of collaborate or whatever else. I always tell them, like, I walk through and I'm like, you need anything for me? No. I'm like, does somebody need something from me?
Exactly.
I just want to be a little bit needed, because it feels funny. So it's a blessing, but there's another whole layer of that's a hard transition.
It is.
Yeah. And when you say, let me just back up to one piece. You said you realized you were struggling to be the boss that you wanted.
Yeah.
What did that look like? What was that like? So others can recognize maybe when that calling is there, that a shift needs to happen, that you felt like you weren't being the boss you needed to be.
Just not wanting to go out if there was a problem in the field, not wanting to go and meet with that customer and support the team the way they needed from an owner. Just send me pictures. I'll talk to them on the phone. I don't want to go to the job site. I just don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And then I made a really bad, fatal mistake, because I'm such an open person. I'm blunt and honest to a fault, probably.
Yeah.
Right?
I love that about you, but yes.
I know, but
not everybody appreciates it the same way.
Correct. And think about it from a team perspective. When I retrospect and look back at that, and I think to myself, how did that make my team feel when I said, I want to be out of here.
Yeah.
I'm done with it. I'm tired. I'm done. I've put in my time. I need to get out of here. I want to find a GM. I'm trying to find a GM. It was almost that feeling, and I was conveying desperation, even though I would never leave them, to not support them with whatever they needed.
Yeah.
But it was just that I need to get out of here. And I'm not even somebody that can say I've ever had a panic attack. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what that really is. But if I had to say, well, maybe I was kind of having a constant panic attack about I need to get out of here.
Yeah.
But it was definitely not a good thing. My team stayed in place. They supported the decision. They realized, okay, maybe she has worked here a little bit long. Maybe we need to find somebody else to take over or whatever. But that just wasn't good. And I never wanted to see my business flail or my team be at a disadvantage or work in a horrible work environment in their minds, and that kind of feeling can spread. You're the leader.
It's culture.
Yeah, you don't want to lead in a negative way like that.
Right.
And that's what I was identifying in myself. You are starting to be a negative person. You need to find someone that you can pass that torch to, and that can bring, the company back in a happy place.
No, I love that. And you're like, it's like hearing a repeat of my own thoughts, because I've been in that exact place. And I did the same thing. I'm like, I just want to be done. I just want to be done. And I conveyed this to my team. But then I realized, I'm like, if I'm not in a position to really be done, it's nobody's fault but mine. Mm-hmm. I'm the one responsible, because I'm the guy leading this ship. I'm the guy steering. So either one of two things. I need to let go of some things that I'm just being controlling over, or I haven't trained the way that I need to create the freedom that I want.
Correct.
It was the two things. And so my position became, how do I do nothing? And so anything that would come to my office, any question that would come, that would come to me, I would say, who have I not taught right to answer this problem or to handle this without me? And so that's my constant even now. So I have the role of managing principal, but my director of ops, she's my daughter, and she's amazing. She's amazing. She's just a beast. They're all beasts, and the whole team. I mean, they're amazing. They're hard workers, and they give it their all. And that's been our culture, the entire time. So I see some of that. I didn't realize that at the time. I was just hardcore.
Right. You didn't realize you were breeding and you were multiplying your work ethic.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yes.
And it was strong. So there's some really good aspects that I've laid roots for there. But I get that feeling, and I know exactly what you're saying. And I think, so I talk to people about legacy and what we're talking about here. Because if you're given everything to building a company, a business, or whatever else, you have to be thinking long term. What's the purpose of this? Is it just to make some money? Or is it to leave a legacy, leave something behind for your family, or to create generational wealth, or whatever it may be? But I think it's important to know what that is, or you lose track and you just get stuck in that grind.
Right.
And you never have an exit strategy until you're maybe like I was, and like, just, God, please let me out. Let me out. I just want out, Right. So I get to experience some of that now, and you're in that same place. But you're in the spot where you're like, I'm going to start enjoying life in some different areas.
Absolutely.
So what's that look like? What do you love to do now?
I go to Florida. Most of my family's in Florida, except my daughter, my granddaughter. So I go to Florida for 6 months. And I'm a horse person. I take my horses with me. They load up in the big trailer, and we make our journey across the country to get to Florida. We enjoy the beautiful weather. I love it down there. Get to just do different things down there. One of the things I think I got a nudge from God about 2 years ago or so about what do you want to do when you retire, what kinds of things, because you're really into this idea of not having to work in the business anymore or on the business. And so I want to do something with my horses. And I stumbled on this awesome YouTube video on it. The horse's name was Peo. And it's a stallion, which is normally a more unruly horse because, they just have a lot of testosterone running through their veins. And this horse would go in and visit sick people in the hospitals.
In the hospitals?
In the hospitals or in the rehab centers.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
Okay.
Check him out. I think it's P-E-Y-O, Peo. If you Google or if you YouTube search stallion visiting nursing homes, you're going to find this stallion, okay? So this is the video that impressed me on, I think this is what I would like to do. And so I did a test run a year and a half ago. I called my mom's assisted living facility and said, hey, would you like me to bring my horses to visit? And the athletic director goes, or the activities director, absolutely, that sounds awesome. I said, great. I'll be there in about an hour. I'm out on the road with them right now. I think I'd like to just bring them now. Can you round up the people? Absolutely.
That sounds like Lisa to me, but go ahead.
Showed up, and I got to tell you a funny quick story. So I am kind of like, I know I'm a little bit OCD about things.
Yeah.
So I bought this new trailer, and I wanted to teach my horse not to pee in it because when they pees in it, then it makes it stink, and I don't like stinky trailers and all that jazz. So I taught my horse to pee on command.
Oh,
so if
I'm
going to load him in the trailer, I tell him, Dublin, go pee.
Wait a minute. For all you horse lovers, we're going to switch gears. We'll cut this out and put this in a different segment.
There you go.
This is a whole new learning curve for me.
Exactly. So I taught him how to pee. So I pull him out of that trailer, and I also had I had attended an animal communication seminar one time, and the thought of it is that you can communicate with them through visuals in your mind. And so I do some visualing, communication with my horse, whatever.
Wow.
And so we get out of that trailer, and I'm like telling him, we're going to go see these people, and we're going to see them, and they're going to be people in wheelchairs that I've never shown you before, and they're going to be in walkers, and they're going to be with canes, and they're going to bump into you, and you're going to be okay with it all. Are we on the same page with this activity? Yep. So I no sooner take 15 steps toward the front of this facility, and Dublin stops me, and he's like, wait a second, Mom, I gotta pee before I go do this. please. And so I stop him. I'm like, oh yeah, good idea. I'm glad you're on top of all this. So he goes pee and we head on up to the facility. And every single thing that I told him was going to happen happened. People coming, bumping into him with a wheelchair, hitting him with a cane, whatever, wanting to touch him all over. And he stood there just like Peo, the stallion.
Wow.
And he was like, I got this, Mom. This is my calling too.
Wow.
It's just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Lord, if you couldn't confirm something to me more than this was it. He ended the point where he stepped on the plate to open the sliding door for the facility. We got all the way to the front door.
Oh my gosh.
I could have walked him in that facility right then and there, and he would have gone right with me.
Okay, so
Anyway.
now I'm curious. How do you teach a horse to pee on demand?
Is this going to be a paid podcast? Because this could be.
This is going to be worth
your
a
highest
fortune.
paying
Right.
podcast.
Yeah, I know everybody's curious at this point. And what's the command?
Go pee. That's the command.
I love it. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
The simplicity of it,
It is. Well, what you do is you catch them peeing or gonna pee.
Yeah.
And a horse will give you that cue. They start to they'll want to stop if you're walking on a trail. Ideally, you teach it from the saddle because then you can catch them right as they're thinking about doing it.
Okay.
And then they'll stop. And if they stop and they start to pause and they start to stretch out with their legs, then I give them the command, go pee. I'm connecting the words to the activity. And then when he does the right thing, there is a peppermint treat in that boy's mouth.
Wow.
And he will pee for peppermints. For
No kidding.
Sure.
So you can now, let me just get this straight. Can you walk up to him and say, hey, go pee?
I can.
No way.
100%.
This is better than teaching children. I mean, potty training children. That's fantastic.
Yes.
So,
And I want to tell you how crazy it is. It's so crazy that in my training time with him, I had another horse that was out to pasture that was learning at the same time. I'm teaching my horse.
right.
And this horse is learning at the same time. And one time I drove down the driveway to go to the barn, and I yelled out in the pasture to my horse, Dublin, go pee.
No way.
He stretched out to go pee, and at the same time he stretched out, the black and white stretched out to pee at the same time, and I went, my mouth dropped open. I go, Duke, did you learn how to go pee too? Oh my gosh.
This is funny.
And then I took Duke and I went ahead and gave him the rest of the lessons because he had got it, but I fine-tuned it.
Yeah.
And then when I sold that horse, I sold him as a pee on command horse for sure.
There's the title of the ad. Pee on command horse. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever seen that before, Lisa. That's new
most people haven't. It's
I
kind of
love
funny,
that. I love that. So that's a great story. Let's, as we kind of land the plane, let me ask you this. You've had a long career and a successful one. Mm-hmm. Obviously, ups and downs didn't come without its challenges. But what do you tell somebody who's maybe at the 1, 5, 10-year mark and has a business and they're trying to figure out, is this the right thing, or is this just the way it goes for everybody, or should I ditch? Or what words of encouragement based on your journey would you give somebody in this whole process of being a long-term business owner?
Well, most business owners fail because they can't stick it out.
Yeah.
It all comes back to how bad do you want it?
That's a good point.
If you don't want it bad enough to be able to go through the painful years, then don't do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I'll liken it to, this is a good analogy, a girl that is like a model bodybuilder, kind of beautiful body, let's just say. And someone says to her, you are so lucky that you have that beautiful body. And the girl looks back at her and says, do you know what sacrifices I make to have this beautiful body? Mm-hmm. You know that fried chicken you had for dinner when I had a salad with no dressing on it? You know that ice cream cone that you stopped and had afterwards when I just had a bottled water? I'm not lucky. I make this beautiful body because I sacrifice to get the beautiful body.
Yeah.
So the entrepreneur needs to decide, would they rather stick it out, do the hard work it takes to be able to get the prize at the end? And the prize at the end is, building way more wealth than you would normally be able to build in a 9-to-5 job. Being able to call your own course, being able to, as a young entrepreneur, do you know I was a room mom at school? How was I that? Well, because I made sure that if I knew I had a room party for the kids the next day and I was going to have to take those 4 hours off, that I stayed up till midnight, 1 o'clock, getting every single thing I could possibly need to get done for the next day so I could block that time off and go be a mom for that time. But I was willing to stay up late to make that happen the next day. So if you're not willing to do the hard work, don't try to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Because it is hard work. But now I have an asset that is worth a lot of money that I've built over time. If I go to sell it, I will have a lot of money. I've had a lot of ability to make a whole lot more money than I could have made as an employee of someone's. And I got to call and order my life however I wanted to. Now, it was demanded on a lot of the times that maybe weren't convenient, but I got to the point where I could have other people that were handling all of those small things, where I just got called in on the big things.
Yeah, and that's the sweet spot.
That is the sweet spot.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, the sacrifice is necessary. There's no free ride for anybody.
There isn't, unless you have a really rich uncle that says, hey, I'll go ahead and give you all the money and you don't have to pay back.
I'll give you all the money and hopefully you don't fail.
Correct.
That's the crux right there. Yeah, it's hard work. Well, I would say, number one, thank you for showing up.
Sure, it was fun.
And you almost came in your horse gear.
I did.
That would have been fantastic.
Oh, embarrassing.
But no, this version is fantastic too. So always appreciate the nuggets that you leave behind the candid conversations that we get to have. So
it was fun.
Where can people find you? Or where can people find the company?
Well, we are under Decorative Concrete Resurfacing. Our name is what we do. If you can't remember all that or don't want to spell all that because it's a long one, you can go to chooseprettyconcrete.com. Chooseprettyconcrete.com. One of our URLs for our websites.
Okay.
And shout out if you ever need any SEO marketing for my son's business. He's probably been the single biggest marketing thing that we did that has sent us just out. It's just, I mean, he's quadrupled our business.
That's fantastic.
Like through his marketing.
Yeah.
And I mean, not that we don't do all the fulfillment and all that hard work and whatever, but he has been able to build a machine online that I've never seen anything like it. I mean, I don't do any other advertising but what he does for me.
Yeah.
No magazine, no TV, no radio, no anything else. He just does all of that and it's just exploded our business.
That's great.
And then for any of the other entrepreneur, since you let me plug my plugs, my daughter-in-law and son actually was her brainchild, and I told Shawn he needs to have her on. Her story is unreal.
Yeah.
But she has a company, Remote Staff Seekers, which if anybody's looking for any, help, like we right now, when I needed a bookkeeper and I tried for 6 months to hire something local, this was around in the COVID years, and I couldn't find anybody. And my son kept saying, Mom, Daisy can fulfill your bookkeeper. And I'm like, no way. Can I have a Filipino doing my bookkeeps? And he goes, Mom, I'm telling you, Daisy's really good. She can find you the right person. That person is hands down the most amazing person. Shows up every day with a smile on her face in the Philippines, but I can hear that smile on the phone when we talk.
That's great, yeah.
And she handles everything, and she does it amazing. She has a double degree. She has an accounting degree and a computer science degree. I mean, she's unbelievable.
Love it. Love it.
And then I needed a customer service rep, and he goes, let us fulfill that for you. I'm like, no way. And he's like, Mom, trust me. And she's amazing too. So anyway.
Well, we'll certainly catch up with her as well and share some of that. And we'll put some of the contact information in the show notes.
Yes.
So if you're in St. Louis and you want the go-to for concrete resurfacing, this is the company. By the way, her company also did my garage. Now, many of you know I'm a car guy.
Yes.
So this garage was really important to me.
Yes.
And you guys really hit the mark. So I
Yes.
store some of my children in there.
Yes.
Not my physical children, just before anybody has something negative to throw
Yes.
at me. Cars. I'm talking about cars because I enjoy those. So some of my
Yes.
toys. So pretty
And it
proud of
makes them
that.
look good.
It makes them look fantastic.
Yes.
And the company did it in one day.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And it's a big garage.
It is.
One day.
I sent you over three of our A teams.
That was a wise thing to do because you know me. I'd
I
be like,
know.
what about that spot?
Yep.
No, they did fantastic. We
Yeah.
didn't. I don't think we had any issues at all. Went great. They were in and out, and the garage looks fantastic. So, search the show notes. You'll see. We'll put a link to the company.
Yes.
And if you have any concrete resurfacing questions, this company is fantastic and definitely the go-to.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
It was a good time. We'll see you guys next time.